right, now to a quick check on Detroit's bankruptcy. It seems the judge wants things to move as quickly as EM Kevin Orr does. And an interesting battle shaping up as Attorney General Bill Schuette sides with retirees to protect their pensions under the state constitution. What are we looking at here? This is very interesting.
On which one? On the Schuette thing?
On Schuette.
Well, I mean, he's taken a position, I think it's the right position, that his job is to defend the Constitution. This is in the state Constitution. He can't go out there and say, well, I'm going to go to court and defend the Constitution on the gay marriage ban, the affirmative action ban, but not on this. I mean, he's got to be consistent. And I think that's what he's doing here. I'm not sure he's going to prevail. I do believe that federal bankruptcy law will end up trumping the state Constitution, but he does have to mount a defense of it.
And if it ends up trumping the state Constitution, though, there's an editorial in the Free Press today talking about how that it still needs to protect it for the
well, it's got to mean something that the state of Michigan, that the people of the state of Michigan decided to carve out a very special protection for pensions in the Constitution. I mean, our Constitution protects contracts like most constitutions do, but then goes and says these contracts deserve even more protection on their own than that. That has to mean something, and I happen to believe that in the bankruptcy court, you know, bankruptcy is a uniform code. Every state has to abide by the same rules. Pensioners are unsecured creditors under that code. There's just no way that you can change that. But that does not absolve the state from the obligation of giving meaning to that constitutional provision, and that may mean the state coming in and meeting the unfunded part.
With what money?
Well, I don't know where you get it, but I think
there's no money to get, and the state's not going to bail out these pension funds. The state may end up taking over, and they should take it over.
Well, if you do that, then you're
because it's mismanaged. It's been, you know, drained.
But then you still got to make up the unfunded part of it.
I think what they're going to end up doing is preserving the pensions and taking the health care, because the health care is not protected by
yeah, well, no one's arguing about that.
It's still a big hit for these retirees.
Sure.
If your $2,000 a month pension is intact, but you'll suddenly have to go in and get $1,000 for a health care policy, you're no better off. So I think that's probably how it's going to play out. And Kevin Orr is hoping perhaps he can give them a small monthly stipend to help pay their premiums, and hopefully Obamacare will kick in and cover them. But I think the retirees, unfortunately, are going to lose something in this process.
Are you still looking for some kind of leadership from our lawmakers in Washington, from Michigan?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think of it this way.
Because they're still talking about bailout for Detroit, and it's becoming a pretty big political hot potato, at least for Republicans in Washington who say, I don't want this to happen.
Right, and where's our delegation? Think of it this way. If New York were in this situation, do you think Charlie Rangel and Chuck Schumer would be sitting on the sidelines not saying anything? They'd be on TV every day talking about the need to come help. John Conyers, Gary Peters, Debbie Stabenow, Carl Levin, all of them take a lot of union money.
Gary Peters and John Conyers held rallies against the emergency manager, held rallies against the state takeover. And you know, when you asked them, well, what's your idea? They didn't have any ideas, and now they've gone away. Yeah. They fought this, and then they disappeared.
And then they've disappeared. I mean, Detroit needs an advocate at the national level for this entire process, and our elected officials in Washington are the likely candidates. It's a little frustrating. Again, would Chuck Schumer and Charlie Rangel be sitting on the sidelines? Would you know, if it were California, would you not see the senators and reps from that state? They would be all over.
And this is a very influential delegation.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Any other surprises that we need to look for in the next week or so? Just kind of keeping track of how fast this is moving along.
In the bankruptcy, I don't know if we're going to. You know, you saw Kevin Orr this week cut the pay of firefighters and police by 10%. I think he's going to keep moving at a rapid pace, both with the reorganization of the city and with the bankruptcy.
Yeah, I think what we saw from Judge Rhodes this week in the docketing for this case was the kind of judge he is. This is not somebody who's going to entertain endless efforts to sort of intervene in the case or take us off into side issues that are down a rat hole. He wants this adjudicated fairly, but fairly quickly too. So this is going to move much faster than some of the other municipal bankruptcies that we've seen around the country.
All right, moving along here. A new poll out this week shows Governor Snyder is slowly regaining support after his approval plummeted to 38% after the right to work legislation. According to a Lambert Edwards and Associates poll this month, he's back up to 44% approval, that a lot of people are approving of the direction that Detroit is in.
Well, I don't know if they're approving direction of what Detroit is in. I think people appreciate leadership. And this is a state that didn't see much in the way of dynamic leadership for a long time. You may not like what he does, but he is willing to make a decision. He is willing to put his capital behind getting things done. He's not going to sit still, and I think people appreciate decisive leadership.
Leadership in the eye of the beholder?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't have any question with the governor's leadership. I think he has led. He's done what he said he wanted to do. He's also done some other things he said he wouldn't do, and that's the bone of contention that I have with him, and that a lot of the independents in the state who voted for him will have. I mean, that's really the key here, right? If he can attract independent voters again in the numbers that he did 4 years ago, he'll win.
He doesn't even attract him in that numbers. I mean,
and that's what this poll showed, that if they put him up against Mark Schauer, that he does still get a lot of the
independent votes. He gets the independent votes, and that's what matters.
And business leaders out with a survey this week predicting that Michigan's recovery will outpace the national recovery over the next 18 months. In a strongly recovering economy, even a recovering state economy, an incumbent governor is not going to lose.
He probably won't lose, mostly because Mark Schauer is not going to be the candidate who could beat him.
Look at what Mark
He's
Schauer
vulnerable.
was doing this week while the governor was in the national spotlight, managing this, helping manage this process of saving Detroit. Mark Schauer's out there whining about Kevin Orr putting calamari on his expense account, which, by the way, he paid for himself.
Turns out he's paying for it.
He pays for himself.
So he made it really look bad.